John Miller straightened his blue diplomatic uniform and took a deep breath. The space station Harmony gleamed around him, its curved walls reflecting the light of distant stars. For 3,000 years, humans had been part of the Galactic Council, working alongside alien species in peace. John had been Earth's ambassador for 15 years, and today was supposed to be a routine meeting. The council chamber doors slid open. John walked in with a smile that quickly faded. Something was wrong. Instead of the usual circular arrangement, the alien representatives sat on one side of the room. A single chair stood alone on the other. "Ambassador Miller, please be seated," said Counselor Vexmore, a tall blue-skinned alien whose 6 eyes blinked in an unsettling pattern. John sat down, his heart beating faster. "I notice a change in our seating arrangement today." "Indeed." Vexmore's voice was cold. "This meeting is not routine. The Council has evidence that humans have been developing forbidden weapons technology." John leaned forward. "That's impossible. Earth has followed all treaties for 3,000 years. Other council members began to speak, their voices overlapping. "Your colonies in the Procyon sector have strange energy signatures. Human ships have been spotted near restricted space. Your people are naturally violent. Perhaps peace was merely a mask." John stood up. "These claims are false. I demand to see evidence and call for a formal vote on these accusations." Vexmore's mouth twisted into what might have been a smile. "Your voting rights were suspended 3 days ago through a special amendment. You were not informed as a security measure." John felt ice in his veins. "That's against council law." "The law has been changed." Vexmore stood, towering over John. "The Galactic Council hereby declares humanity a threat to galactic stability. All human colonies will be placed under council control. All human ships must stand down immediately." John reached for his communication device. "I need to contact Earth." A guard stepped forward and knocked the device from his hand. John backed away, suddenly aware that this was not just a political move. This was something much worse. "You won't be contacting anyone," said Vexmore. "Your people will receive our message when we're ready." John saw a guard reach for a weapon. With a quick move, he dodged and ran for the exit. Alarms blared. The station's lights changed from white to red. John had trained for emergencies, but never expected to use those skills at a diplomatic meeting. He ran through the corridors, avoiding security checkpoints. His small diplomatic vessel was docked in Bay 12. If he could reach it, he might warn Earth. A laser blast hit the wall beside him. John dove around a corner, hearing alien voices shouting orders. He reached the docking bay and sprinted toward his ship. The entry ramp lowered as his implant signaled his approach. Once inside, John locked the controls and started the engine. Computer, emergency departure protocol. The ship detached from the station as more security forces entered the bay. John's vessel shot into space, taking hits from station weapons that rattled the hull. Computer, send emergency message to Earth Defense Command. Authorization Miller Alpha 7. The computer beeped. Message ready. Galactic Council has revoked human rights and declared us a threat. This is not a diplomatic misunderstanding. They're planning an attack. I have coordinates of their fleet movements downloaded from Harmony systems during my escape. Prepare defenses immediately. Miller out. The ship shuddered as a larger vessel appeared and began pursuit. John pushed the engines to maximum, heading for the nearest jump point. On Earth, Admiral Lisa Carter was watching sunset over the Pacific when her communication implant buzzed. She listened to John's message, her face growing pale. All commanders to Defense Command immediately, she ordered, and get me access to the dormant defense systems. Code. Sleeping Giant. Around Earth, warning systems that had been silent for centuries began to activate. The 3,000 years of peace were over. The sky over New Eden Colony turned bright as day when the first alien ships appeared. Kevin Walsh was in the middle of his morning patrol when the attack began. All civilians to the shelters, he shouted into his communicator. This is not a drill. People ran through the streets as defense sirens wailed. Kevin had trained for this scenario, but no one truly believed it would happen. 3,000 years of peace had made humans comfortable. The first energy blast hit the colony's main power station. Buildings shook and lights went out across the settlement. Kevin ran to the defense center, where Diane Powell was already coordinating evacuation efforts. "We've lost contact with 3 outer farms," she said, her face lit by emergency lights. "The colony ship can hold 500 people. We have 2,000 colonists." Kevin checked the defense screens. "We need to buy time. Get the children and medical cases on the ship first." Outside, more alien ships entered the atmosphere. Their designs matched Galactic Council military vessels. Kevin activated the colony shield, a technology rarely used except during strong storms. "Council ships are attacking 4 other colonies too," Diane said, reading an emergency broadcast. "Earth Defense Command says help is coming, but it will take time." Kevin knew what that meant. They were on their own. Back on Earth, Admiral Lisa Carter stood in the center of Defense Command. Screens showed attacks on multiple human colonies. John Miller had arrived an hour earlier, his ship damaged but carrying vital information. "The Council planned this for years," John explained, his uniform torn and dirty from his escape. "They've positioned fleets near all our major colonies." Lisa pointed to a secure door at the back of the command center. "It's time you saw this." The door opened to reveal a large room filled with technology that looked newer than anything in the main command center. A small team of officers worked at stations. "What is this?" John asked. "Insurance," Lisa said. "Some of us never fully trusted the peace. For centuries, a small group of military officers and scientists have maintained a contingency plan." Dr. Sam Rogers approached them. He was a tall man with tired eyes who clearly hadn't slept since the crisis began. "Ambassador Miller, we've been analyzing the data you brought back," he said. "We've discovered something interesting about why the Council might be targeting us now." He showed them a display of human DNA alongside alien samples. "There's something unique about human neural patterns. It allows us to interface with technology in ways other species can't. We think certain Council members want this ability for themselves." John looked shocked. "They're killing millions of people for this." "Power makes people do terrible things," Lisa said. "Even aliens." On her command screen, the colony of New Eden flashed red. The shield had failed. Kevin Walsh watched as the colony shield collapsed. Alien troops landed near the main settlement. He had 5 minutes before they reached the evacuation area. "Get those ships launched now," he told Diane. "I'll hold them off." Diane nodded, tears in her eyes. "The first 3 ships are ready, but we still have hundreds of people waiting." Kevin gathered his security team. They were not soldiers, just colony police with basic weapons, but they would have to be enough. "We fight smart," he told them. "Use the buildings for cover. We just need to slow them down." The aliens advanced through the streets, their armor gleaming. Kevin and his team fired from windows and rooftops, then moved to new positions. They couldn't win, but they could save lives by buying time. In orbit above New Eden, Council warships fired on fleeing colony vessels. 2 ships made it to safety, 3 others were destroyed. On Earth, Lisa Carter watched the casualty reports grow. Millions dead, several colonies lost. "How soon until our hidden defenses are ready?" she asked Dr. Rogers. 24 hours for the first wave," he replied. Lisa looked at the galaxy map, where Council forces were advancing across human space. "Then we have 24 hours to prepare our surprise." Admiral Lisa Carter stood before a hidden door built into the side of a mountain on Mars. No maps showed this place. Few humans knew it existed. She placed her hand on a scanner and spoke clearly. "Admiral Lisa Carter. Authorization. Sleeping Giant." The massive door slid open slowly, revealing a dark space beyond. Lights flickered on automatically, showing a huge cave filled with ships. Not ordinary ships, but vessels with sleek designs unlike anything humans publicly used. "Welcome to Project Sentinel," she said to John Miller, who stood beside her in awe. "How long has this been here?" John asked. "Almost 2,000 years. Different admirals, different crews, but the same mission. Prepare for the day peace might end." Dr. Sam Rogers joined them, carrying data tablets. "The ships are ready. We just need crews." Lisa nodded. "The best pilots and soldiers are already on their way." In another part of the solar system, far from Mars, Commander Paul Wright received urgent orders. He had been testing new flight systems when the call came. Now he stood in a shuttle heading to coordinates he had never seen before. The shuttle approached what looked like an empty area of space near Jupiter. Then the pilot entered a code, and suddenly a massive space station appeared as its cloaking shield dropped. Paul entered the station and was led to a conference room where other military officers waited. Admiral Carter appeared on a large screen. "You're here because you're the best we have," she said. "Humanity needs you now. Commander Wright, you will lead our first counterattack." The screen changed to show a ship unlike any Paul had seen before. Its hull was darker than space itself. Its lines were smooth and predatory. "This is the U.S. Defiant," Admiral Carter continued. "A prototype warship with technologies we've kept hidden for centuries. Commander Wright will be her captain." On a distant mining outpost called Deep Reach, engineer Grace Martinez worked to repair communication systems damaged in a council attack. The outpost had survived because it was small and hidden in an asteroid belt. While fixing a broken panel, she discovered something unusual. Behind the modern systems was an older computer, sealed away but still functioning. Curious, she connected to it and found military records from nearly 3,000 years ago. What she read made her sit down in shock. The records spoke of early humans in space. They were not peaceful explorers as she had been taught. They were feared warriors. Species across the galaxy had been terrified of humans' ability to adapt and fight in unexpected ways. The peace agreement had not been a friendly partnership but a treaty to end a war that humans had been winning. Grace downloaded the files and sent a secure message to Earth Defense Command. John Miller and intelligence officer Kate Nelson worked in a secure room at Earth Command. Their job was to find allies among the alien races. "Not all council species agree with this war," John explained. "Many were friends to humans for centuries." Kate nodded, studying profiles of alien diplomats. Several representatives were suddenly replaced before the attack. "I think there was a purge of human sympathizers." She pointed to a message from a Tellurian diplomat. "This one is still willing to help us. Their species opposed the war, but were outvoted." On the bridge of the U.S. Defiant, Commander Wright watched his crew prepare for their first mission. The ship hummed with power as systems came online. Most of the technology was unfamiliar even to him, an experienced officer. "All systems ready, sir," reported his second in command. Paul took a deep breath. "Set course for the Procyon system. The Council has a major fleet there attacking our colonies." The Defiant moved away from the hidden station, its advanced engines making almost no visible trail. In 12 hours, they would reach Procyon. The Council forces there had no idea what was coming. Admiral Carter watched from her command center as the first phase of humanity's counterattack began. On screens around her, more hidden bases activated. More secret ships prepared for launch. "They thought we were sheep," she said quietly. "They're about to learn we're wolves who chose peace, not prey who needed it." Dr. Sam Rogers stared at the test results on his screen. After weeks of studying alien and human neural patterns, he finally understood why the Council had attacked humanity. "Admiral Carter, I found something important," he said into his communicator. An hour later, Lisa Carter, John Miller, and Kate Nelson gathered in his lab. Sam pointed to a display showing brainwave patterns. "Human neural patterns allow for a unique form of connection with machines," he explained. "The dominant Council species have been trying to copy this ability for centuries without success." He switched to a different image showing an ancient star map. These are coordinates from the files Grace Martinez found. They'd point to a network of defense systems left by a civilization that vanished long ago. Whoever controls those systems would dominate the galaxy, and humans can control them. John asked. We're the only ones who can, Sam replied. That's why they want to wipe us out. In deep space, the U.S. Defiant dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Jupiter's moon Europa. Commander Paul Wright had received new orders directly from Admiral Carter. Instead of joining the battle at Procyon, they had a special mission. Sensors show no Council ships in the area, reported his second officer. Good, Paul said. Prepare the landing team. Major Alan Freeman and his Special Forces team joined Paul in the shuttle bay. They wore advanced armor that few in the military had seen before. Our mission is to recover something called the Prometheus Protocol, Paul explained. It's hidden in a research base beneath Europa's ice. The shuttle descended to Europa's frozen surface. They landed near a spot that looked like ordinary ice, but was actually a hidden entrance. Inside, they found a research facility that had been abandoned for decades but kept functioning by automated systems. Alan whistled as they entered the main lab. What exactly are we looking for? Hall approached a sealed container in the center of the room. This. The container opened to reveal a set of neural interface headbands. They looked simple but contained incredibly advanced technology. The Prometheus Protocol, Paul said. It allows humans to control swarms of nanomechanes with thought alone. On the other side of the solar system, Grace Martinez helped turn her mining outpost into a defensive position. Other survivors from nearby colonies had joined them, bringing the total to nearly 1,000 people. The mining drills can be modified to work as weapons, she told the group of engineers around her. And the haulers can be armored to protect people. One of the engineers looked doubtful. We're miners, not soldiers. Grace nodded. Yes, but we're also humans, and according to these old records, that used to mean something. In Council space, Supreme Commander Zach Stoll stood on the bridge of his flagship. The massive vessel led a fleet of 300 warships heading toward Earth. On his view screen, reports showed unexpectedly strong resistance from human forces. How are they fighting back so effectively? He demanded. They were supposed to be unprepared. His second-in-command looked nervous. Sir, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from several locations in human space. They seem to have hidden bases we didn't know about. Zach Stoll slammed his fist on a console. High Counselor Vexmore promised me an easy victory. Send word that we need reinforcements. Kate Nelson worked through the night, analyzing data from their alien allies. She found something disturbing in the Council's secret archives. The Council has eliminated other species before, she told John Miller, showing him the evidence. Any race that developed neural abilities similar to humans was systematically destroyed over the past 10,000 years. John looked at the list of extinct species. They're afraid of us, not just of what we can do, but of what we might become. On Europa, Paul Wright and Alan Freeman loaded the Prometheus Protocol onto their shuttle. As they prepared to leave, Alan activated one of the headbands. His eyes widened as millions of microscopic machines responded to his thoughts, forming shapes in the air around him. This could change everything, he said quietly. Paul nodded. That's what the Admiral is counting on. 6 months had passed since the war began. Humanity had lost a third of its colonies, but the tide was beginning to turn. What started as a desperate defense had become a coordinated resistance that surprised the Council forces at every turn. Admiral Lisa Carter stood before a holographic map of the Procyon system. Red dots showed Council ships. Blue dots showed human vessels. The trap is set, she told her officers. The U.S. Defiant and its sister ships will draw the Council fleet into the asteroid belt. When they follow, our hidden forces will attack from both sides. On the bridge of the U.S. Defiant, Commander Paul Wright watched as his ship moved through the asteroid field. 6 other ships like the Defiant followed close behind. They had become known as the Ghost Fleet because of their ability to appear and disappear without warning. Council ships are changing course to follow us, reported his second officer. All 23 of them. Paul smiled. Perfect. Maintain current speed. Let them think they're catching us. Far from the battle, Major Alan Freeman led a team of Special Forces soldiers on a mission deep in Council territory. Each soldier wore a Prometheus Protocol headband. With their thoughts, they controlled clouds of nanomachines that could cut through hull metal or form protective shields. Target in sight, Alan whispered to his team. They floated in space near a massive Council supply depot. Remember, we take out their fuel cells first, then their communication array. The soldiers sent silent commands to their nanomachines. Invisible to normal sensors, the tiny machines flowed toward the depot. John Miller and Kate Nelson met secretly with representatives from 5 alien species who opposed the Council's leadership. The meeting took place on a small moon that had no name, only a number in star charts. "We bring proof of the Council's true plans," John said, showing them the evidence Kate had found. "They've been eliminating species with neural abilities like humans for thousands of years." A tall, 4-armed alien spoke up. "We suspected this, but had no proof. The Eldar species vanished 5,000 years ago after developing advanced neural technology. The Council claimed it was a natural disaster." Kate nodded. There was nothing natural about it. The same Council leaders who ordered that extinction are behind this war against humans. In his laboratory on Earth, Dr. Sam Rogers worked day and night on a new project called the Nexus Link. He had discovered that human neural capabilities were even more powerful when multiple people worked together. "The tests are successful," he told Admiral Carter through a secure channel. "When linked, 10 humans can control systems that would require 100 individual operators." Lisa looked thoughtful. "And what about 1,000 linked humans? Or 1,000,000? "The potential is difficult to calculate," Sam admitted, "but it could be the key to accessing the ancient defense network." Grace Martinez had turned her small mining outpost into something much more important. It had become a hub for civilian resistance efforts across 3 star systems. Mining ships, now armed with weapons made from industrial equipment, protected refugee vessels, and raided Council supply lines. New information from Earth Defense, a young communications officer told her, handing over a datapad. "Grace, read it quickly. Send this to all outposts in our network. The Council is using predictable attack patterns. If we coordinate our defenses, we can be ready for them." In Council space, Supreme Commander Zax Toll faced the High Council via holographic communication. His once confident demeanor had changed to nervous concern. "The humans are using technologies we've never seen before," he reported. "They seem to know our movements before we make them." High Counselor Vex Moore's 6 eyes narrowed. "Your excuses are tiresome, Commander. Either destroy the humans, or we will find someone who can." After the transmission ended, Zax Toll called his most trusted officer. "Contact the Velox and Terran representatives. I want to know why some Council members are starting to withdraw their support for this war." Back in the Procyon system, the trap closed around the Council fleet. Hidden human ships emerged from behind asteroids and moons, cutting off escape routes. The battle that followed would later be called the Turning Point. For the first time, humanity won a major engagement not through desperate sacrifice, but through superior strategy and unexpected technology. Admiral Carter received the news of victory with quiet satisfaction. "Now we move to Phase 2, she told her staff. From defense to offense, John Miller and Kate Nelson moved quietly through the massive archive building. Their alien allies had smuggled them onto the Council's central world, a planet called Axiom that few humans had ever seen. The risk was enormous, but so was the potential reward. "The central database should be 3 levels down," Kate whispered, checking a small device that mapped their route. "Our Velox friends said the oldest records are kept there." They wore disguises that made them look like minor Council bureaucrats. 2 of their alien allies walked ahead of them, creating distractions when needed. So far, no one had challenged them. "I still don't understand why they keep physical records," John said as they descended in a gravity tube to the lower levels. They don't trust digital systems for their most important secrets, Kate explained. Too easy to hack or copy. The archive's lowest level was dimly lit and smelled of age. Rows of storage units contained physical documents from thousands of years of council history. Kate's device led them to a section marked with symbols so old that even their translators couldn't decode them. "This is it," she said, using a special key provided by their allies to open the sealed container. The documents inside were written on a material like thin metal sheets. John and Kate photographed everything with hidden cameras. As they worked, John noticed something strange about the records. "Kate, look at this. The peace treaty from 3,000 years ago. The translation is wrong." She moved closer to see what he had found. "What do you mean?" "The official version says humans agreed to peace to protect other species from our aggression. But this original document says something different." John's eyes widened as he read. "It says the treaty was created to protect humanity while we matured as a species." Kate stared at him. "That makes no sense. Protect us from what?" They continued searching and found older documents, records from the earliest days of the Galactic Council. What they discovered left them speechless. On Earth, Dr. Sam Rogers made a breakthrough with the Nexus link. He had connected 50 volunteers in a neural network, allowing them to share thoughts and work together as one mind. "The results are beyond anything we expected," he told Admiral Carter. "When linked, humans can process information thousands of times faster than individually." Lisa looked at the test subjects, each wearing a slim headband. They sat in silence, but their minds were racing through complex calculations and simulations. "How many people could theoretically connect to the Nexus?" she asked. "There's no upper limit we found yet," Sam replied. "Potentially, every willing human could join." Lisa considered this information. "And if they did, could they access and control the ancient defense network we found coordinates for?" Sam nodded slowly. "I believe they could, but there's something else you should know." He showed her new data from his research. "The neural interface technology works exponentially better when humans cooperate willingly. Forced connections show minimal improvement. It's not just our brains that make this work, it's our choice to work together." Commander Paul Wright received new orders that surprised him. The U.S. Defiant was to travel to coordinates at the edge of known space, to a location called the Forge in ancient myths. "These orders come directly from Admiral Carter," he told Major Alan Freeman as they prepared for the journey. Apparently, John Miller and Kate Nelson found something in the Council archives that changes everything. The Defiant traveled farther than any human ship had gone before. When they reached the coordinates, they found what looked like an empty area of space. "Sensors detect nothing, sir," reported the science officer. Paul exchanged glances with Alan. "Use the Prometheus protocol. See if there's something our regular sensors can't detect." Alan put on his neural headband and sent his consciousness outward through the nanomachines. After a moment, his eyes opened wide. "There's something massive here," he said in awe. "It's hidden somehow, and it's responding to my thoughts." A structure began to appear as if emerging from another dimension. It was enormous, a station or facility larger than anything humans had built. Ancient symbols covered its surface, the same symbols found on the precursor technology humans could uniquely control. "Send word to Admiral Carter," Paul ordered. "Tell her we found the Forge, and I think it was built specifically for humans." Admiral Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of her flagship, looking at the massive fleet gathered around Earth. Every hidden ship, every secret weapon, every last resource humanity had was now committed to this final battle. The coordinates from the Forge had revealed the location of the ancient Defense Network's control center, hidden on a moon orbiting the Council's capital world. "All ships report ready, Admiral," her communications officer said. Lisa nodded. "Send the signal. Begin Operation Awakening." Across human space, millions of people put on Nexus Link headbands. Dr. Sam Rogers had modified the technology so it could work on a global scale. The plan was risky, but it was humanity's best hope. Nexus link activating. Sam reported from his control center on Earth. Neural network forming. Lisa closed her eyes as her own headband activated. Suddenly, she felt the presence of countless other minds, not as confusion or noise, but as a beautiful harmony of thought and purpose. For the first time in history, humanity acted as one. Through this shared consciousness, they accessed the ancient defense systems. Satellites and stations that had been dormant for millennia began to power up across the galaxy. On the Council capital world, High Counselor Vex Moore received alarming reports. Unknown energy signatures detected in orbit, an aide reported nervously. And we've lost contact with our defensive fleet. Vex Moore's 6 eyes blinked rapidly. Activate the Sun Killer. Target Earth's star immediately. Before the order could be carried out, John Miller's voice echoed through every communication system in Council space. People of the Galactic Council, this is Ambassador John Miller of Earth. Your leaders have lied to you. Kate Nelson had connected their evidence to the broadcast system. Now, the truth about the Council leadership's crimes spread to every world and ship in Council space. For thousands of years, your leaders have eliminated any species that showed signs of neural evolution similar to humans. John continued. Not because these species were dangerous, but because they feared what we might become. Commander Paul Wright led the U.S. Defiant in the assault on the Council's leadership stronghold. With him was Major Alan Freeman, whose soldiers used the Prometheus Protocol to disable defenses rather than destroy them. We could wipe them out, Alan said as they approached the Council chambers. After what they did to our colonies, many would say they deserve it. Paul shook his head. That's not who we are, or at least, not who we choose to be. Grace Martinez coordinated civilian ships throughout Council space. As the truth spread, many alien civilians needed evacuation from military installations. Priority to medical ships and children. She instructed the fleet of converted mining vessels. Remember, we're showing the galaxy what humanity really stands for. Through the Nexus link, the combined human consciousness directed the ancient defense systems with precision. They disabled Council weapons but avoided casualties where possible. The massive neural network processed information at speeds no computer could match, predicting and countering every move the Council forces made. Inside the Council chambers, Vex Moore and his inner circle found themselves surrounded by human soldiers and their own people who had turned against them. This is impossible, Vex Moore hissed. You were supposed to be primitive, easily controlled. John Miller walked into the chamber, Kate Nelson at his side. We found the truth in your own archives. The ancient race that built the defense network saw potential in humans. They arranged our protection through the peace treaty until we could mature enough to use their technology wisely. And now we have, Kate added. One by one, Council worlds surrendered. The war that was meant to exterminate humanity instead united it as never before. And when the fighting ended, humanity faced a choice about what kind of power it would be. Admiral Carter disbanded the neural network once victory was secure. The experience had changed everyone who participated. We could rule the galaxy now, one of her officers suggested. Lisa shook her head. That's not why we fought. We fought to live, not to conquer. In the rebuilt Council chambers, representatives from all species gathered. John Miller stood before them as the first leader of a new galactic alliance. 3,000 years ago, we chose peace when we could have chosen war, he told them. Today, we make that choice again. Not because we are weak, but because our strength gives us the freedom to choose a better way.